Ladies and gentlemen, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Glory to Ukraine!
Слава Україні! Дорогі друзі!
Dear friends, today, we are gathered here for the sake of actions that can have the most serious impact on the aggressor state.
Серйозно впливати на державу-агресора. Кожен з вас міг побачити
Each of you has seen how abundant the evidence is that Russia is critically dependent on its ties with the world.
від зв'язків.
Without such ties, this war simply would not have happened.
Зв'язків просто не було би цієї війни.
Russian missiles, drones, nearly all equipment on the battlefield that truly holds power, Russian finances, the technology companies and communications, all of it depends on how Russia trades with the world.
Все це залежить від того, як Росія торгує зі світом.
How Russia sells oil and other goods, imports technology, equipment, and components.
Технології, обладнання, компоненти.
Russian arms production directly relies on the availability of modern machinery.
Сучасних верстатів.
Russian missiles and drones are composed of dozens of critical components that they import through various schemes from other countries.
Завозять завдяки різним схемам з інших країн.
The Russian budget is critically dependent on oil and gas revenues.
Залежить від нафтогазових доходів.
The Russian economy, Russian oligarchs cannot function properly without financial ties to jurisdictions around the world.
Фінансових зв'язків з юрисдикціями світу.
And no less important, the personal capital of the so-called Putin elite, all these killers and their accomplices.
Усіх цих вбивць та їхніх спільників.
They have a deep love for money, a deep love for their luxurious lifestyle. They amass stolen wealth, they want a quality education for their children, particularly in Europe, and they require access to proper health care.
Хорошої освіти, зокрема в Європі, і потребують нормальної медицини.
And the longer Russia wages this war, the less normalcy remains in Russia.
В Росії нормального.
The so-called Putin elite is very much aware of this and deeply desires not only that the West refrains from imposing new sanctions, but that all existing sanctions be eased.
Нові санкції, але щоб послабив всі існуючі санкції.
Therefore, our joint task is clear: as long as Russia continues to invest in this war, the world must be closed off to them as much as possible. This is about our shared security, and about basic human justice. That is exactly what we must uphold with our sanctions regimes, together with our partners. Regrettably, even today, some Western countries still continue to supply Russia with equipment and critical components. Our experts have already identified hundreds of types of components contained in Russian drones and Russian missiles. Regrettably, within the past year alone, shipments of machinery to defense industrial enterprises in Russia have been recorded from no fewer than 12 countries around the world, including China, Taiwan, the Republic of Korea, Japan, France, Germany, Italy, Turkey, and the United States of America. There is also evidence of supply contracts already planned for the upcoming year 2026. All of this must be stopped unequivocally. At the same time, further pressure is needed on every actor in the world who helps Russia maintain its exports, who facilitates oil transportation, or who seeks out mechanisms to circumvent financial restrictions. We must act now to ensure that emerging technologies, especially those in the field of artificial intelligence, are prioritized within export control frameworks by partner nations. Artificial intelligence is increasingly and more frequently being integrated into weaponry. Restrictions must already be in place on the supply to Russia of ready-made artificial intelligence models suitable for military use. This also includes tools and services for training artificial intelligence, particularly cloud-based services, high-performance computing equipment, and specialized datasets, including commercial satellite imagery.
спеціалізованих дата-сетів, включно з комерційними супутниковими знімками.
In other words, our sanctions strategy must be absolutely specific in each area and as technologically up-to-date as possible.
Кожному напрямку та максимально сучасно.
A new international platform must be established to monitor the export of dual-use goods.
Товарів подвійного призначення.
This will help us not only in defending against Russia directly, but also in limiting its network of collaborators, such as the regimes in Pyongyang and Tehran.
Режими в Пхеньяні і Тегерані.
Separately, I want to commend the work of each and every individual who is helping to curtail Russia's profits from energy resources.
Заробітки на енергоресурсах.
Thanks to our state institutions, our strong international partners, and cooperation with civil society, we have already achieved genuinely positive results in imposing sanctions on Russia's shadow tanker fleet.
Хороші дійсно результати у санкціях проти російського тіньового та
And much more of this work must be done.
має бути ще більше.
We must expand sanctions to include tanker captains, all affiliated legal entities, as well as terminals from which Russian oil is shipped.
З яких відвантажується російська нафта. Все це
This is immense daily work, from export controls and disruption of supply chains to the blocking of financial instruments and targeted personal sanctions.
фінансових інструментів та персональних санкцій.
But all of this is necessary, because without it, Moscow will not consider peace.
Думати про мир.
Of course, we are doing our part.
Робимо свою частину роботи. Наші
Our sanctions packages are highly proactive.
дуже
I would like to thank the entire team that makes this happen.
команді, яка це забезпечує.
Today, Ukraine introduces new sanctions against manufacturers and suppliers of components and equipment for the Russian military-industrial complex.
Військової промисловості. Ще
Another 87 entities, most of them Russian.
яких Росія
But we must become even faster, even stronger. That is why today there is also a clear decision of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine regarding the synchronization of all sanctions.
синхронізації всіх санкцій.
This is an absolutely necessary process.
Станом на сьогодні
As of today, there are varying speeds at which sanctions are applied.
є випадки, коли ми в Україні,
There are cases in which we in Ukraine act faster.
коли партнери
There are cases in which partners are more active in targeting certain individuals or sectors deserving of strong sanctions.
що заслуговують на сильні санкції.
Today, we are beginning rapid synchronization.
Синхронізацію.
Every necessary sanctions decision made by our partners against Russia and its affiliates must be implemented swiftly in Ukraine.
Швидко. Наші українські санкції проти тих,
Our Ukrainian sanctions against those who have chosen Russia and who have chosen war, against those who support aggression, must also be affirmed in other jurisdictions.
юрисдикціях. Треба працювати активніше із
We
компаніями.
must also intensify direct engagement with companies, especially key global manufacturers of equipment and components, and key developers, to ensure tighter control at the production level over where their products ultimately go.
За тим, куди потрапляє саме їх продукція.
Negligence in oversight must lead to placement on sanctions lists and the imposition of effective restrictions.
У санкційні списки і до дієвих обмежень.
This war must increasingly become a burden for Russia. Every Russian strike on our cities and communities must prompt new retaliatory sanction strikes.
Повинен ставати приводом для нових санкційних.
I have recently held productive meetings in Europe and at the Group of Seven summit in Canada with our partners.
В Європі та на саміті групи 7 в Канаді з нашими
Sanctions were among the many topics discussed.
про санкції.
Our partners are prepared to support us, and I thank them for that.
Ми очікуємо від усіх
We expect from all our state institutions, starting with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Security Service of Ukraine, the National Bank, and the National Security and Defense Council, faster action and results that are synchronized with our partners.
та результатів, які будуть синхронізовані
There are absolutely clear objectives.
абсолютно чіткі,
There are absolutely clear timelines.
чіткі терміни.
And the results can be verified with absolute clarity. We must significantly increase the pressure of sanctions.
Санкційний тиск
I thank everyone who helps us.
допомагає. Дякую
I thank you for this day, for how it has been organized.
всім, хто завдає
I thank everyone who delivers just responses to Russia for this war.
цілком
Glory to Ukraine.
Україні.
Дякуємо президенту України за участь у нашому заході.